Okay, we're in week 3, January 24th through the 30th. We're still in grammar and we're learning about numbers today. Here are all the numbers. Be sure and take notes. My guess is most of you know 0 through 10. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I put a star next to the 6 because that's the hardest one to say. It's seis, like seis. All right. Most of them, like zero looks like 0. Most of them you've heard before, I am sure. You've got to get these basics down, okay, in order to be able to combine and do higher numbers. From 11 through 15 must also be memorized. 11 is pronounced once. 12, doce. 13, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15. So I'm going to give you some clues. The sound of 12 sounds like the number 2 with an E sound. Listen, 12, okay? The sound for 13 sounds like the number 3 plus the E sound, 13. For 14, there's really no clue, but if I ask you how old your cat is, pretend your cat's 14 years old. 14, cat, 14, my cat's 14. And 15 you've probably heard of with quinceañera. When we get to the teens beyond 15, we're going to use the 10, 10. We're going to change the Z to a letter C. We're going to add a little I, which means and then add the single digit. Watch. 10, that's going to represent 10. The letter I is going to represent and, 10, and the single digit 6. Isn't 10 plus 6, 16? Yes. So this literally means 10 and 6. 10 and 7. See, 7, 7, 10, just a spelling change, 10, the I is and. 10 and 8, 18. 10 and 9, 19. Okay, I'm going to read them again to you. 16, 17, 18, 19. When we get to 20, it is pronounced like this. 20. Think of veins in your hands. 20. When we want to add a single digit to the end in the ones place, like we did up here, we're going to follow the same idea. We're going to change 20 to 20. What does that I represent? That means and. And then I add the single digit in the ones place. That's a 1. 21. For 22, 20. Say 2, 2. 23, 23. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Then we're going to get to 30. It sounds like this. 30, like a train. 30. Now, beyond 30, I'm not going to use the little I and smush it together. I'm going to actually separate it out, and I'm going to say 30, space, y, which means and, as if the y and the y both mean and, y, uno, 30 and 1. Didn't this mean the tens digit plus and plus 1? 10 y 6? Yes. 20 and 1, 21, same thing. It's just spread out into 3 words. Why? Most likely because I would have a vowel, an A, and then another vowel, an I, and then another vowel for you, for uno. And there'd be 3 vowels in a row. So that's my guess as to why these are broken down into 3 separate words. So how would you say 33? 30, y, go find your 3, 3. 34, 30, y, find your 4, 4. That's why these are essential to learn, the 0 through 10. or the 1 through 10 for counting above, because you'll be adding those single digits to your tens place right after your tens place. All right, let's practice a little. So I made this little chart. You might want to do this also. I have 1 through 10 right here, 11 through 15 over here. Okay, these guys have to be memorized. There's my I that I use to represent and in the teens and in the 20s. There's my Y that also means and. I use it in the 30s. And you'll use it above 30s, but we're only getting to 30 right now. So if I have a teen number beyond 15, it's going to be 10 and 10, a single digit. 20 is 20, but if I'm adding a number in the ones, I change the E to an I and say 20. Get rid of that E and change it for an I and say 20, and then add your single digit, whatever it might be. For 30, we're going to be spaced out. 30, we're going to use the Y, E, and then the single digit. Let's practice. 16 is literally 10 and 6. So let me start with my 10. 10, E, that's my and I need a 6. 6. Put it together. 16. 32 is 30 and 2. Let's look at our tens place. 30, I need the word for and, E, and I need the word for 2. 2. 30 y 2. 30 and 2. 19 is a 10 and a 9. Let's start with my tens place. 19. 19, 10 and 9, 19. 23, we need the tens place 20, and I'm adding a 3. So I'm not going to say 20, that's just 20. I need to switch that E to an I because I'm adding a number in the ones. 23. 11 must be memorized. Looks like once upon a time, right? It definitely isn't number 1, but that's a good clue to help you remember. Once means one time, but these are 2 ones in a row. 11. 25, I want 20 and 5. 25. 13 must be memorized. It sounds like the number 3 with the E sound after it. So that would be 13. 34. 34. 18 is a 10 and an 8. 18. 37 is a 30 and a 7. 37. How old is your cat? This one starts with cat. 14. 29 is 20 and 9. 29. Practice these as much as you need. Use the chart. I'll make a chart to help you. All right. In this question, I have a new word. Question words like cuantos, who, what, where, when, why words, those are question words. I'll always define as much as I can for you. These are basic words that you just pick up as you go along. Cuantos means how many. Cuantos elefantes hay. H-A-Y is pronounced I, like your eyeball, I. And it means, are there? How many elephants are there? To answer the question, you would use I again and say there are. Hay 4. Hay 4. So I means there is or there are. ¿Cuántas jirafas hay? How many giraffes are there? You want to start your sentence by saying there are, which is your word for there are. Hay 3. Okay, I put the 3 in parentheses just because you're new to learning your numbers. You don't need to do that when you write a sentence. You don't have to put you can use your digit or you can use your word. Okay, what if I want to say there is a, not one, but a. Hay un policía. There is a police. What if I want to say an, because the noun starts with a vowel. There is an artist. Okay, I would say hay una artista. So the word un or una can mean a or an. The number one is either uno or una. Okay? When you're counting, you just say uno, dos, tres. But if this number is describing a person, it's functioning as an adjective, you can choose between uno for masculine adjectives and una for feminine adjectives. When it's here right in front of a noun, and I want to say a police officer, I'm going to say un. I want to say an artist, I say una. Okay? A or an can be un or una. All right, let's practice writing the date. Luckily, we do use the same format to write the date in English that we use in Spanish, but not as often. The one that you most common will see is when someone says this date, the 4th of July. Okay? The format for writing the date in Spanish is the same format that we use when we say the 4th of July. The format is the plus the digit of plus the month. That's the format I'm going to use in Spanish. The is el, the number cuatro, of is de, July is julio. Okay, so the formula in Spanish is the plus the digit, de plus the month. Let's practice one. Instead of saying October 31st, I could say the 31st of October. You want to start with the digit, then put of, and then put the month. El 31 de octubre. Okay? Just switch it. Start with the number, then the month, and you have it in the right order in Spanish. Now, what happens if you're trying to say the first of the month? I'm not going to say uno, because that means number one, right? If I want to say the first, like the 1st of March, I would use the word primero. Primero means first. Okay? So trade out uno for primero. It comes from like primer, primary colors. So this is a root. This root word is Latin, and we use the same root for the same meaning. Something that is first. Primero. We're not going to say uno. We're going to say primero. Primero means first. And that's the word we're using in English. The 1st of March. El primero de marzo. So if I were to ask you, ¿cuándo es tu cumpleaños? I would be asking, when is your birthday? So I want you to think about how you would say your birthday in Spanish. Remember, you start with the digit, then the word de, and then the month. So you would say something like this. El, say your day. Here's an example. 15 de abril. Okay? Make sure you always start with the day, the digit first, then de, which means of, and then the month. This is a more complete sentence over here. Mi cumpleaños es el 15 de abril. Or you can just shorten it, the 15th of